Hello and welcome to the weekly teaching from Unfolding Ministries. I'm Heather McVeigh.
And I'm Debbie Ernest.
We are so glad you are here. Today we're going to be talking about spiritual meal prepping. So Debbie, have you ever meal prepped?
Well, I bought a book.
That's good.
You know, I love to buy books. That doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
I bought a quilting book too one time, didn't I? And I think I used it maybe once.
Yes.
And then it went on my counter with the rest of my cookbooks.
Now I have meal prepped. I've lasted about a week. I've even bought the nice containers from Amazon. But I have wonderful intentions, but my follow through is where I'm lacking.
Right. Mine too.
Yeah, and maybe some of you can relate. We would love to hear your stories, successes or fails with meal prepping. But today we're going to take a little spin, and we're going to put a Jesus spin on meal prepping, and we're going to talk about how to spiritual meal prep. Now, Debbie, when you were looking and buying your book, what was the reason that you wanted to do meal prepping?
I wanted to be prepared for my family. We were so busy, and financially, it was better to eat at home.
Mm-hmm.
It was healthier, but I didn't want to be at the last minute and have nothing for them. I wanted to be prepared, and I wanted to have something healthy and something good for my family when I needed it.
And on the same lines, you know, having three busy kids and all our activities, what we were consuming was not healthy for us.
Right.
And so for me, it was a weight loss issue, but also a healthy. I wasn't content with what I was putting in my body, nor for my children. And so Noah actually gives us a great example of what it means to meal prep. And so Debbie, if you'll read our key verse, we're in Genesis chapter 6.
Right, verses 21 and 22. Also take with you every sort of food that is eaten, and store it up. It shall serve as food for you and for them. Noah did this. He did all that God commanded him.
Now Noah was in preparation for a 40-day and 40-night journey that he had no idea he was going to endure.
Right.
He didn't even know what rain was, had never seen rain. And yet God had him in the early stages of preparing and making provisions for the storm that lied ahead. And that caught me in my spirit. And I thought, okay, God, you are starting to just to stir inside of my own spirit about being prepared. That's my word for 2019, prepare and to seek. And I thought, you know, how many times has God started to instill in my spirit to prepare because he knows what lies ahead.
Even though you didn't.
I had no idea.
Right.
And so if you have been, or right now you may be in the midst of a storm, and you may be feeling like you are tossed to and fro, and Satan wants to make you consume things that is not good for your spirit. He wants you to endure food that he is offering you that is not true, and they're full of lies, and that will saturate your spirit into taking you to a dark place, and you'll begin to dance with the enemy like we talked about several weeks ago. But today we're going to help you, give you 3 ways to do spiritual meal prepping, so you too can be satisfied and strengthened like Noah and his family was in this 40-day journey. So that brings us to one of my favorite Beatitudes in Matthew chapter 5. It says, "Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be
satisfied."
Now, righteousness is doing what is right according to God's expectations or standards. And so to feast on God's word, it tells us that you will always be satisfied. You will never hunger, and you will never thirst for truth, because his truth will satisfy you. And so spiritual meal prepping 101, there's 3 things. The first thing to do for spiritual meal prepping is to pray. So spend some time. Psalms 139, we've given you the scripture there in the blog post for you to read. Read over Psalms 139. It says to search me and to know me. Reveal to me anything that is unclean, unhealthy in your spirit, so you can get rid of it.
Right.
And so you will know what to even prepare for.
Right. And he will do it. If you ask him, he will show you the changes you need to make. It hurts at first, but it is so cleansing. It is so good.
And it's necessary because
Yes.
the prayer is what will continue on your plan for success as you continue your spiritual meal prep. Okay, Debbie, will you share with us number 2?
Okay, number 2 is to prepare. You have to make a plan.
Yeah.
You can't just,
Buy the book and buy the container.
it didn't work for either one of us. But on the spiritual side, for those who just say, well, I just open up the Bible and where it opens, I read it. No, we need to go a little deeper than that. And I encourage you to read a whole book at a time to understand how God is showing himself through that writer. Yeah, the big picture. But you may want to journal. Heather has mentioned in the blog post, whether it's online, YouVersion apps, the First 5 app. You may want to do Proverbs. So many different choices, but make a plan so that you will be prepared to do this,
Right.
to do this prepping. It's so important. And Proverbs 6:6-8 talks about the ants.
I love this verse.
It says, take a lesson from the ants, you lazy bones.
That's scripture, girls.
The truth kills a granny, let her die. That's what I always heard. Learn from their ways and become wise. Though they have no prince or governor or ruler to make them work, they labor hard all summer, gathering food for the winter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Be intentional.
Absolutely.
It takes work to prepare. But the third step is where the rubber meets the road. It is practice. So you've got prayer, prepare, and then practice. This is the hard one, especially for me. That's why I have several meal prep containers, and they may have been full for a week, but the second week I failed
Right.
to practice
Right.
all the things that I had prepared for, and it's hard. And so when you behave the same way, you become defeated, and you think, I can't do this. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. I'm too busy. I can't schedule my time. And Satan and the enemy just gives you lie after lie after lie. But I want to read something to you from a book that I'm currently reading. It's called Everyday Obedience. And the author says, have you ever been on this try harder wheel
Yes.
all the time?
Yes.
I'm going to do better. I'm going to try harder. She says, let me save you from another face plant. You will not get it right. You can never obey perfectly, ever. The try harder life leads to either burnout and frustration, of self-dependence, and man-made righteousness. Neither of these is what we really want. Neither of these leads to the abundant life that Jesus promises. And so obedience is hard. Obedience is hard. But when you have obedience, ladies, one truth, if you can get anything from this teaching, is that give yourself some grace. You are still learning. We all are. And you may pray and you may prepare, and if you face plant, get back up because you're still learning. Give yourself some grace.
Right. And we learned in the power sheets that we do, that we've talked before in our podcast, the writer of this, she is always saying to celebrate small steps.
Yes, absolutely.
Any small step forward, you need to celebrate that, and do not let the enemy discourage you because it wasn't perfect, because it weren't. And something I had to learn, I always do my devotions in the morning. Well, when we go to Tennessee and we see our children, listen, our little granddaughters, they, as soon as the sun's up, they are in our bed. And so there goes my devotions in the mornings. So many times I didn't do them.
Yeah.
And now I've learned, well, I can do it later in the day. I can
Yes.
say, Jeff, play with the girls, and I can do
Yes.
it. So,
Yes.
so you don't have to be so stiff that you
Be
let
flexible.
Satan, yes, that you let Satan just
Yes.
take your joy out.
Regardless of what happens during your day, be flexible to make sure that you practice that plan that you have prepared.
Right.
And so we're going to close with 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 3. And keep charge of the Lord your God, walking in his ways and keeping his statutes, his commandments, his rules, and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do wherever you turn. Ladies, keep walking the walk.
Right.
Keep praying, keep preparing, and keep practicing, because God will bless your efforts.
One day at a time.
One day at a time. Download the blog post. It's got lots more detail. We offer you some suggestions and resources, and we would love to hear how you are spiritual meal prepping. Have a great week.